Yeah, so if we can, okay, the scorecard we can each, I'll start with, we'll do each topic and each of us will give our score. Let's start with economic performance. For me, economic performance, if we say over 100, we need percentage, right? I not feel to say,
Yeah.
given the situation, where they, I will give 40%. Why I will say 40%? To some extent, the exchange rates a bit stabilized according to the dollar income, but the bread and butter issue that has not been dealt with. So me go give 40%. Mr. Jamboya on economic performance.
I'll give 30%. I am giving 30% because we don't see improvement on the inflation rate between 2023 and this year. I don't want to go into the figures because we not get trustworthy figure. I'll put it that way in plain terms. But I believe say there has been improvement in the inflation, and also the currency exchange rate has been stabilized a bit. But the overall consumer price index and other things, them very unstable. And the bread and butter issue, now the main thing for the economic performance. If that's not stable, it's not stable. If the people don't have food to eat, they don't have time to think. So that's why I'm giving 30%.
Over to you, Mr.
Over to
Shillon.
you.
Yeah, well, I will allot or assign 47% in the sense that I link the inflation with the stagnation of salary or income, and then the rise in prices of goods and services. So when we talk about inflation, the inflation figure seems a little bit unreliable in the sense that, because it seems to me, I'm not an economist, so I take no credit for the analysis where they make. But it seems to me as a layperson, if inflation is going down, I think correspondingly we'll foresee prices going down on goods and even services. But that's not what we're seeing. When they say the inflation, they'll go less, but we'll not get any evidence that prices have gone down in any way, shape, or form. So it's hard for me to be a layperson, talking as a layperson now. Now, we'll welcome some economists, particularly we'll always encourage people from the government to come and take issue with we, but then they do them. Because when we come up with any conclusion there, we'll want the government to come and tell we how we're wrong and what they have done, and then get evidence or record of it. So my reason for the 47% is simply that prices have stagnated, in fact, gone up a little bit. So I don't understand how I don't understand the correlation between inflation going down and prices going up and salaries or income staying stagnant. So for that reason, I say 47%.
Okay, for the now healthcare advancements, and now remind we viewers them, our rating is just for this year. And now what we see happen this year, waiting development. When it comes to healthcare, for me, two things that came to mind. I see there's a lot of strides being made for equip some of their health facilities with solar energy. Then there's another one where they do for them belle woman for monitor them. Because maternal mortality be not go slightly down in a saloon and child mortality. So I would just give them just above average for them to achieve mandate. So for healthcare advancement, I'll give 55%. Over to you, Mr. Jamboria.
I'll give 40%.
Okay.
Are they combined? Are they combine my thoughts about that same with educational reforms? But I'm not going into the educational reforms now, but I'm going to make a key point. Health
Okay.
and education delivery is not about buildings, it's about equipment, it's about materials, and it's about a contented service,
Okay,
a working
Mr.
service that is contented. And I
Go
think
ahead.
all
Okay.
of those are Sierra Leone.
Mr. Shillon, help.
Yes, I'm sorry with the health because Mr. Jamburia seems like he skipped. He's one point ahead of us because he's talking about education.
The same parameter what they use for measure health now get for use by education. The
Okay.
Okay,
provision of
Mr. Shillon.
equipment,
Let him
the
finish. Let him
provision
finish.
of material.
Okay,
Okay.
Mr. Shillon, what I would say, you give your own but help. Then we'll start Mr. Jamboria because of the connection. Let give you a score for education. Mr. Shillon, help for you, sir.
Okay. Health for me is also below 50%. I'll put it at 47. And I'm being very generous. I see the maternal thing. I even see something about Dr. Demby. There's a video where I always make reference to Dr. Demby, the current Minister of Health, who without a doubt worked for one of the most prestigious health institute or institution in the world, the NIH, as my understanding. I don't know that as a fact. But one will see as to how some of them things they happen in Sierra Leone. Because I asked a question, I did look for the question on my phone as I talk, because I did send a question to my colleague for say, well, how do they determine this policy or this new development wouldn't come by where they establish for minimize maternal problem in the country. I be the one that say, what are the criteria we didn't get? How do they determine if somebody now some village at the most remote area in Kalaun district, that's some small village? How do we ensure that that pregnant person there is well, is go receive prenatal care, postnatal care, and then how do we know that in the village, in the most remote village, death and birth are being registered or counted? So are we just doing this for just the big city? Or is the most, if somebody in a Kalaun district, let's say in a Mobile, or even Mobile is even a big town, but some of the villages them. So do we have capacity or situations where we can register the result of the statistics with Dr. Demby? I was looking for the video, but I couldn't find
Okay,
it.
sir. With time limits,
So as
let's
far
go
as
to the
I'm
next
concerned, it's 47. It's 47.
Mr. Jamboria, we start with your education, sir.
I'll give 30%.
Okay.
And the reason is education is not about the buildings or collection of children in one place. The equipment used to teach and receive teaching, the materials used to teach and receive teaching, or what you call learning, then the quality and qualification of those who teach and their contentment to be in the job. Because that man, if he come on a money empty belly, go for good eat, then he get broke or sus they provoke him, you not expect him for be a quality teacher. And as
Okay,
far
sir.
as I know, this is a condition throughout Sierra Leone. And they exclude private schools, because private schools, you pay, they get you the service, they may get you some of the equipment, but even them, they don't have all of the equipment. Education is about equipment to facilitate learning. And as far as Sierra Leone is concerned, and has been concerned since the 1980s, we are 30%.
Remember, we are only reviewing for the year. So, Mr. Shillon, what
Yes,
you
sir.
remember?
This year, we have equipment, sir. We get about school level, they don't build now, build more.
Okay.
The beginning,
Okay,
they
sir, Mr. Shillon, education.
Yeah, now with education, I'm still running below. In fact, with education, I would say 45%, only because we've shown some areas in the country, particularly the last thing we show about schools was a school in Kenema, where even blackboard, the picking and not get not card, board, then they write, then they use as blackboard for them. And now a hot with mud in a mud house, now then they use as the school. That should not happen. That should not happen. I've seen some other countries like Malawi where kids sit on the floor to go to school because if you look at MSNBC, Lawrence O'Donnell in show that comes on 10 p.m. at night, he get this what you call the kind fund through UNICEF because you go Malawi and you see Pekin and the Sudan are grown, girls as well as boys are grown. And then the Sudan don't get desks for rights. So we begin to buy them desks. That should never happen in our country. So again, 45.
Okay, sir. For me, I think I would go 40% without much because I don't see much. Because wait here to look at, from my experience, because I'm a member of some government schools, I'm an alumni. We see the large class size numbers. Also, we talk about this overemphasis on university education, where there's no link between university education, industry, and governance. So 40% for me. Political reform, first, Mr. Shillon.
You can go.
Political reform and stability.
Okay, political reform, there's a lot that can be said, but we don't want to waste too much time on that because all of us will agree that the current situation in Sierra Leone, I don't like the idea that the other smaller political parties are being pushed out or have been pushed out. I think that's a recipe for disaster in Sierra Leone. We need the participation of smaller parties for them to be able to form coalition with the bigger parties to form a government. So if we're just going to, and our two major political parties, the APC and SNPP, do not have a great history of governance at all in the country. We know they are one. I always describe the two parties as two sides of the same coin. So the coin, it doesn't matter which side it's on, it's the same value.
So your score, sir?
Yeah. So my score is going to be 40%. 40%.
Okay, for me, quickly, I'll give 30%. And I'll tell you the reason why. Both parties went to a tripartite agreement, right? They not include the other political parties then, which was wrong. It just started like a two-man war. Then moreover, the two party them, they're obsessed with flag bearer for 2028. And then they talk about 2028. Some of the recommendation in the very tripartite report, like electoral management reform, they haven't even touched it. So 30% for me. Over to you, sir. Mr. Boy.
10%, sir. 10%.
Okay, fine. 10%. Judicial reform. Starting with you, Mr. Boy.
Judicial reform, 25%.
Okay. Mr. Shillon?
I think I will be within the 25% range too, because there's a lot to be done. There are a lot that can be done. There is a lot that should be done, and none of it is being done. So I think 25%. There's a lot of room for improvement in the system.
I think I'll go with you two guys because the key issue for me, one, the delay of the decision for end this Lara Telopia's case will don't go over 4 years, 5 years. Number two, this business of the frequent appointment of Attorney General and Minister of Justice, because you're not calling for stability and continuity. So for 6 years, we've had 5. So me said we'll give 25%. Infrastructure development, I'll leave the others to go because when we talk about infrastructure, it's a bit broad. It could be roads, it could be electricity, it could be energy, it could be water supply. Over to you, Mr. Boy.
I'll give 60%.
60. That's great.
Yeah.
Mr. Shillon?
Yeah, I'm unable to go above 45% only because this infrastructural thing, like we talk about, we're still struggling with electricity. We're still struggling with water supply. We're still struggling with health and dispensation of health facility and public health. So I think that's what I will give, 45%. Did I say 45%?
Well, for me, yeah. For me, I'll give 55%. Probably it might be parochial, but because I'm a member of the Sierra Leone Institute of Engineers, I see some of my professional colleagues are doing a great job. So let them not say, no, I got to say 55% for me.
You know, to make I give 60%, I consider all the broad spectrum of infrastructure. There has been improvement in several sectors, even including electrification. The only thing is we are mostly concerned about electrification looking at the Western area.
Yeah.
But when you look across the country, there has been marked improvement in electrification within the last 36 months.
Okay. Now, the bête noire, as the Frenchman can say, the bête noire. Fighting corruption. Over to you, Mr. Shillon, first.
Well, I've always felt we do not need an ACC office. We don't see any evidence. In fact, we'll see evidence of the ACC office playing games with the whole idea of fighting corruption. Then they make a mockery of what the office stands for. But I think even without the existence of the office there, if we're serious about fighting corruption, we get the CID, we get the law officers department, the Attorney General's office. These are sufficient bodies to be able, because corruption at the end of the day, fraudulent behavior, illegal activities. So we get sufficient laws on the books to really take care of the incident. The ACC office, I think we can do without. I don't see what you need to do to make a difference anyway. So I will give them, I would say, fighting corruption, 35%.
Over to you, Mr. Jamboria.
I'll give 10%.
Okay.
10%
For me,
because at the council, let me make the reason why. Fighting corruption is not a game of the law. It's a sociological situation. And a sociological situation can be corrected by correct public education. And also, one of the things we've been talking about recently, when we discussion, the wage system in Sierra Leone. Let us stop being hypocrites and think, oh, the law is there. But if the man does not have bread to eat, he will break the law. Let we correct the wage system. Let we get a sustainable public education system about corruption, the bad side of it, and the good side of not being corrupt, what it will bring to the country. Otherwise, we are wasting time. So I'm giving 10%.
Okay. I will give 40%, still below par. And the reason I can give example is the failure for the much talked about change to e-governance and e-transactions. We not do nothing about that. We still believe in that old paper money. And as we've been seeing, one of the things for me was repugnant. When the commissioner becomes saying he recover money from people, they can't display a whole set of notes. What does that say? So 40% for me. Okay, our last one, governance and leadership. First, Mr. Shillon.
Well, again, of course, we know say all engineering and connected. For governance and leadership, I will give, I'll say 50%. I'm giving 50% only because I think we don't see there are one or two or three things then where I think say, well, it like we take 3 steps forward, no, 1 step forward, 3 steps backward. Now, the only thing is sometimes can confuse me because there are times when some good moves are made, then the next thing we know, we undermine the very good moves that we'll make. So it's taking us nowhere. Let me just generalize them without even giving factual instances. But we are, at the end of the day, we just the spin we will in terms of, but progress has to be seen and felt. And I'm not seeing the progress we get, like for instance, we get an airport. Everybody talk about, hey, good airport. Fine, that look like progress. But look at what expense. It costs more and the service is less in the sense that and Sierra Leoneans are not benefiting anything from that. So what good is it for us? How can we consider that to be a progress in any way, shape, or form? We'll get a nicer looking terminal or airport, whatever people choose for column. But look at what cost to us, how much it cost we, and how much we not the seem for enjoy them. Because now even the price for fly go Sierra Leone is so prohibitive, it's unbelievable. So that's the best I can do, 50%.
Now to you, Mr. Gamboria, governance and leadership.
35%.
Okay, so no need for, well, for me, governance and leadership, I would say 50-50. I'll give them 50%. Not because they've started some process, like the reform of the civil service. And what do I give them 50% for challenge? Because me a transport man again, I'm be parochial. We don't see finally, then they want to bring this Sierra Leone Public Transport Authority. So I engbas. So I give them 50%. so for growth for the new year.
Mr. Bengot.
Yes.
Teachers don't give marks for my sake.
Okay, well, gentlemen and viewers,